longer than I thought it would, but it was also easier than I thought it would be. So it was fun. I want to try it. I want to try it. I found a soul recorder too. I'll print them off making yeah, that's it's
Hey everyone!
You'd have to
I like that. Hey everyone! Welcome to Impact Training today. I'm so glad you're here. We only have one Impact Training after this one. So thanks for coming. Today, the focus will be on understanding Chinese culture and how to engage with Chinese students on the UTA campus. And so I'm so grateful for our friend who's taken time to come all the way over here to teach us more about understanding the culture, political climate, spiritual climate of Chinese students in the US, as well as what's going on in China. And it's important for us to understand these things because after Indian students, the students who are international, most of them come from China. A lot of them live in apartment complexes surrounding the campus, and a few of y'all have been involved with apartment ministry, and we're going to do a little bit more of that next semester as well. And so this will be really important for us to pay attention to as we're engaging our Chinese friends and wanting to better understand them and their culture and where they're coming from and how they understand the gospel. And so I'm going to pray over our speaker and just thank God for how he's brought him here and how he's used him mightily to engage with students on the SMU campus. So may y'all bow your heads. Father, I thank you so much for just bringing us all here in this room. Lord, I know nothing happens by accident and that you have placed us here for the very reason to have a heart for these Chinese students on our campus. Lord, we thank you that every tongue, tribe, and nation will fall before you. And we thank you that you've placed us on one of the most diverse campuses in the U.S. I pray, Lord, that we would not take that for granted, but that we would recognize the unique privilege that we get to have to meet and engage with so many people from so many different cultures. And I pray, Father, that as JoJo comes up and speaks, that we would have attentive ears and attentive hearts to hear from you what you have to say through him. We love you and we thank you for his ministry on the SMU campus, his heart for the nations, and his heart specifically for Chinese students, as he is from China as well. We love you and we thank you for this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. May all please welcome JoJo.
Hey y'all. Are you guys not expecting that from a Chinese person? You want to listen again? Okay, how's the lunch? It's good? Good, okay. Just don't want the lunch to keep you guys too sleepy. Because I already did a better job preaching Chinese. So I'm kind of nervous doing it in English now. Just kidding. Yes, I'm so glad to be here again from last year, invited by Pudi and Ben. It was quite my honor to be standing here and sharing this moment about the knowledge, my knowledge about China, Asian history, gospel, and things like that. I'm so glad to see all of you guys are the future leaders. You know, that's a big thing. We already have students coming to SMU, either from America or Chinese, but we're not training them as leaders. I'm really glad to see that you come with owning that title as being future leaders. It's great. It's quite encouraging. Okay, Jesus sending out the 12 disciples at the beginning to make disciples, to evangelize, to spread the word, and then the second time he sent out 70. It's multiplied. The reason why he's doing that is because he knew how progressive achievement could be made through leaders. Okay, so you guys are the pivotal figures, the important people here as leaders. All right, so back to the topic today, understanding Chinese culture. I think what is making maybe really not that knowledgeable about what I'm talking about here because culture is a big topic. I cannot cover everything, but I will try my best to do what I know, okay? About the politics, history, spiritual realm, and underground church, through self church, the current challenges, and some tips when you do evangelism for the Chinese students. All right, let's go with the first slide. So this is what I'm gonna talk about from ancient China, religion in modern China, and contemporary China, and helping tips and Q&A time. So we're starting from here, ancient China religion. As you can see here, the white part. Does it show? It's not okay. Anyway, the white part is what we see China right now. But back in 2,000 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 4,000 years ago, the China was not that huge, not that big. The Greek part was how we call China in 221 AD. Okay, so at that part, the only China are among the two rivers, the Northern River and the Southern River. The Northern River is called the Yellow River, and the Southern River is called the Long River. So both of the rivers will make the region of China. And has been more than 1,000 years ago, like 1,500 years ago. So at that time, people only are limited with that region because they are not possible for them to get out. They're minorities, they're nomads, and the living conditions are going to get really bad if they have no crops. So that's what we call China. And at that time, it seems no religion existing in China unless some natural religion. It's called Taoism. If you guys have ever heard of Confucius, Confucius was coming at the same time with Taoism, Tao. His name is Lao Tzu. I don't know whether you guys heard of him. And his name in Chinese is really funny because it means father. So every time, like we're playing that kind of game, we're really young, naive, premature, and we talk with our friends. What kind of books are we reading now? Tao De Jing. So, okay, who wrote it? Lao Tzu. Hey, oh, good job, my son. So it's kind of that because Lao Tzu in Chinese means father. So he's like answered, yes, father. So it's kind of a joke, inside joke among Chinese people. At that time, it was called spring and autumn, which means all the philosophers come and show, like standing out on the stage. They show up in history and making huge impact towards China. So the very first stereotype of religion or philosophy coming out during that time, 221 AD. We will show from the next page what it looks like. That's one religion worshipper or a practicer of Taoism in China. You can tell that he's so different from maybe most of the figures you saw from Chinese movies. He's sitting there and doing a solitude, enjoying his own time. So that's the China's original stereotype of religion about 1,500 years ago. Talking about Christianity, how Christianity come into China in ancient time. The very first time Christianity came into China was 635 AD. It was in Tang Dynasty. How we Chinese people regard ourselves, we are very proud of ourselves for two dynasties. The first one is Han Dynasty. And the second dynasty is called Tang Dynasty. So probably these two dynasties are the only major period of time that China is making impact towards the whole world. So once Han Dynasty impacted all the Chinese people, we regard ourselves as a majority. We call our Han people. So I am a Han person. Other minorities will call themselves with other names, but as long as you're a majority, you call yourself a Han person. So pretty much like WASPs here. And the second generation, the second dynasty is from this map. It's called Tang Dynasty. So if you go to Chinatown, if you ask a Chinese person, he will say that, oh, this is not Chinatown. We call that Tang Renjie, means a street lived by the Tang people. So Tang people coming out from this dynasty. We call that Tang Dynasty. So Han Dynasty and Tang Dynasty. Those are the two major dynasties that are making impact to the whole world. So Tang Dynasty is about 635 AD. And during that year, Christianity first came to China through India, from South Asia. The reason why it comes from South Asia, from India, was because India was much earlier to get impact from Christianity. And I think you guys have heard of Thomas was moving towards that direction and lived there, spread the gospel in India, and had a whole impact in having the church, the community, and Christian cultures. So spread out from a base that is from India. And more importantly, the China from last page, if you can see from there, they are living not at all close by India. So they're like isolated from any other religion or culture. The only way to get into China is from southwest. So we finished the Asian part, we're coming to the modern part. It's not so modern, but it's in 1850. So think about what's going on in America in 1850s. 1850, it's called the Kingfield Revolution. The Kingfield Revolution is starting for the Heavenly Kingdom movement. The Heavenly Kingdom movement, you probably can tell even from the name. The person who started this revolution from the rebel was a Christian. There were so many dramatic stories about him. He was trying to make himself really prestigious, like you guys are going to the college, going to be really prestigious and really privileged, but he failed. Okay, he was not accepted as a college student, so he failed, and he went to some missionary back in China and asking, okay, would you help me? Like, give me an interpretation why I got failed. And the missionary said, his name is Morris, from Britain. And he said, I don't know, but you know what? My Lord, Jesus Christ, always have a good will for you. You are going to have your own way of life. It's going to be okay because he loves you. He plans for you. And this person thought, okay, I like this idea, but I do not believe that my own destination should be controlled or planned by a God that I cannot see. So I won't get myself baptized. And Morrison said, no, wait, you have to accept Jesus as your Lord. So you could call yourself a Christian. And that guy just said, no way. It's not fair, okay? Christian is someone who said, I believe. Now I believe. You should baptize me. And Morrison said, no, you're wrong. Theologically, disaster, okay? I'm not going to baptize you. And that guy said, now I'm going to start something new in China. Now I'm going to build a kingdom on the earth. You know what? I do not have to be a Christian to do that because I'm a brother of Jesus. His name is Hong Xiuquan. So from that time on, he built a earthly kingdom as a brother of Jesus Christ. He called himself the third one because he called the big brother was Adam, the second brother was Jesus, and the third one. He baptized himself, called him a brother of Jesus, and starting the movement called Heavenly Kingdom, which impacted China for hundreds of years. So Christianity brought China into revolution in 1850. He just moved to all the rural areas, called them, hey, you have to obey me, you have to follow me because I'm the brother of Jesus. And I have all the power granted from above. And even the Holy Spirit is on my servant. And people say that, wow, that's so good. How am I going to serve you, my Lord, in many ways? And he said, if you are a lady, then you can serve me as my wife. And if you are a guy, then you can serve me as an army from heaven. So they're just expanding. The whole army of the heavenly kingdom is expanding rapidly. And so is his wives. And that just becomes such a rival. And the whole Qing dynasty, which is the last dynasty in China, has no tolerance on him. This is totally a joke. And we have no room for that. We're going to completely destroy you. And their whole kingdom was destroyed in 14 years later. Thousands of people died in this war. The Long River, as you may remember, the southern river that split the whole China into 3 parts, the major river, the longest one. Around that region was all of bodies, dead bodies. And people just died because of this revolution. And the southern part of the Long River has already been occupied by the Heavenly Kingdom, but the north part was taken by the Qing dynasty. That was this history. You may consider what kind of impact this Heavenly Kingdom brought upon Christians and Christianity towards China. Will you like it if you are the leaders, if you are the governors of China? No, you won't. You'll be so scared. And the Heavenly Kingdom just imprinted a bad impression and had such a suffering memory, a burnt scar on all the Chinese government's mind. You have to remember that every time talking about Christianity, you will know, okay, the Chinese history taught all the governors that Christianity is powerful and Christianity is dangerous. It is so easy for them to get all the people follow them and get them not be afraid of death and get them to be really powerful. So that's the history happened in 1850, lasting 14 years. And the rite was done in 1864. Heavenly Kingdom. Next slide. Some missionaries were forbidden to get into China because all the Heavenly Kingdom has done. Yes, you guys are just spreading this whole so-called gospel to China, and you are making a monster here, Hong Xiuquan, right? So stop coming to China. In that case, you will have the 4th brother of Jesus or the 5th brother, I don't mind, or even the cousin or sibling or what. So we're fed up with that. We are in, it's enough. Okay, done. It's done deal. You cannot come into China. So the influx of the missionaries coming all the way from Europe has been declined so much since Heavenly Kingdom. And this person makes a big failure, not only in China, but everywhere in the whole world. He said, if I have 1,000 lives, I will never leave one for myself. I all give them to China. Who is this one? Hudson Taylor. Okay, Hudson Taylor came to China at that time. And he lived there. He created this new reformed, astonishing, striving strategy of how to do missions. That was when the time that he went to China. He said, this new type of missionary work is going to be residency. What does residency mean? He said, you regard yourself as not someone who transits from China and your original country. You are no longer where you are from. If you're American, you're no longer American. If you're Briton, you're no longer Briton. If you're Australian, you're no longer Australian. You are, from this moment on, a Chinese person. That's what he done. He lived in China, married a Chinese woman, giving birth to many, many descendants. Eat there, speaking Chinese language. He even grasped some really hard Chinese accent. And his accent is so pure, so decent, that no Chinese people will regret of speaking or talking with him. He said, no problem. He eats the blood of the pig. He eats the chicken feet. He eats the pork feet. I know, I can tell from you guys, right? Hospitator, right? Not every person is hospitator, right? He ate scorpions. He ate whatever kind of words you can think of in China. He became a Chinese person. That's what he called residency. Live among the people, become one of them, become part of that. That is, he said, okay, you're asking me about the most effective way to do evangelism, about missions. I'm not giving you the most effective way. There is only one way. This is the only way you do missions. You become one of them. You think how they think. You do what they do. You respect what they respect. You disgrace what they feel disgraced. Hudson Taylor gives all that stereotype. That's his family. He lives there, wearing just like a Chinese person, speaking Chinese language, and giving birth to Chinese students. That impact just gave more freedom to the missionaries coming back to China again, because the Chinese government say, oh, well, I feel like we are accepting you guys because you're not like making another Hong Xiuquan, okay? So the door seems to be opening a little bit after Hudson Taylor came in. Not until that time. The Boxer Rebellion, okay? That happened in 1900, probably the start of the 20th century. It was the time that the trade war started. It's not the trade war 2018 version. It was the trade war 20th century version between the Europe, 8 countries of Europe, and China. So the China would like to close the doors, not doing any business with the other countries. But other countries said that it's a fair business. It's not like World Trade Organization. We should just do this way. But the Chinese government, no, we're not doing that. So the Europeans come and really wanted to open the door. So foreigners are flooding into China at that time. The real person of power at that time in China thought about like some really tricky way. She was so afraid that she could not stand out as a power to go against the European power. So what she thought was to stay on the back, which is described in Chinese history as behind the curtain. Okay, and she stayed behind the curtain to push some other people to do the dirty job for her, which was also called the black gloves. So she founded some black gloves to do the dirty job for him. This is called the Boxers. The Boxers are the people from the rural area with no education, but strong emotional bipolar-like-ish, violent people. They use their knives, they use their spears and whips, daggers, and go on the street in pursuit of who? The white people, the missionaries. They find them, they follow them all the way to the church, and they kill them. Okay. All over China, basically in 5 provinces, Shandong, Shanxi, Henan, all these provinces, north part, which is very close to where the Qing dynasty, the government is. I'm from Shandong province, so we heard a lot of stories about the Boxers. The rude, cruel, and they have no hesitance once they find any person who looks different than them. Okay, and I'm so sorry to tell you guys, could you imagine how a Chinese person look at you in the 1900s? If they see you on the street, how are they going to describe you? They're going to describe you as ghost. Okay, what does ghost mean? Ghost means 鬼子, means you're a devil. You're the evil people, because the white people come and spread the gospel there and worship a totally different God with them. With us. And impacted China in the way they don't like. So the Boxers came out with knives to kill all the missionaries. That was how it happened. So in the whole China, more than 4,000 missionaries killed within a year. And that was totally igniting the hatred between the European countries and China. And the Boxers, they do not have a good result for themselves. After they were taken advantage by Cixi, as the governor, they were crucified. And the whole organization was totally destroyed. And they disappear in history after being the Black Lives. So this is called the Boxer Rebellion, used by Cixi to go against with Christianity. There was huge movement of becoming Christians in all the rural areas in 5 provinces. So this is a story about Boxer. So sorry about the pressure. I know it's getting dark, right? Are you ready to get a little bit more colorful? Yeah. To the contemporary China. Okay. 1949, the communist China, the new China, the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, October the 1st. Who's standing in the middle making the announcement? You guys know him? Mao, right? Mao. You may have a lot of comments on him, but none of business for today. So Mao was the person who founded China, according to the history book. Guess what's his attitude about Christianity? Good? Or bad? It's gonna be really, really bad, okay? Let's talk about some ideology here. I'm reading this from Wikipedia. What is Marxism? Marxism is a method of socio-economic analysis that views class relations and social conflict using a materialist interpretation of historical development and takes a dialectical view of social transformation, which means in this Marxism, which is also the ideology that the new China hovers, denies the existence of what? Of God. Because the foundation of Marxism is materialism. Materialism means there's nothing in this whole world existing as spirituality. There's no such a thing. Okay? There's no such a thing called spirituality. Everything is on or about material. So this is called materialism. And materialism is the foundation, at the core of Marxism. So Marxism helps the partisan, help the new China be founded. So Communist Party China is based upon Marxism. Mao is an old-fashioned, old-school Chinese culture-age conservative. So he's based on all his thoughts on traditional Chinese culture, that Christianity is a demonic thing. It's all about devil. It's going to make China vulnerable because of people will believe in a foreign god. Well, even if you believe in a foreign person, that is bad but okay, but you are not only believing something foreign, but also you believe in a foreign spiritual god. That is terrible for him. So what he has done to Christianity this is like a rabbit trail. This is bunny trail. This is like how many people you expect in China. What's the black dots, the red dots, on the dots there? They're humans. Okay. It's people. Okay. This is a train station in China, and you're one of them over there. I was one of them in 2009. Even if I've been to America already for 2 years already, 2009, but it was so familiar to me, getting to be one of them. Okay, I have some American friends who traveled to China, and walking on the street, suddenly there were a wave of people coming and surround him. And asking, like, going to like somewhere else, and my friend was so thrilled. He said, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Something big, like big event is going on." I said, "No, just daily routine, like daily life." He was, no, it has to be something like a state fair or something. Like, we do that in all the states. I said, "No, just a common Saturday morning." And he could not understand. Okay, that was daily China. Think about that. Okay. So what is going on after Mao is taking power in China? What's he gonna do to Christianity? Cultural Revolution. Cultural Revolution is a movement that started by the central power of China, using all the rebellion's power from the lower level people to topple all the upper level people. This was the only once and only incident in human history. For what? Excuse me. It has never appeared before in human history that one emperor or one authoritative person or a tyrant wanted all his people to topple his own country. Can you guys understand that? Does that even make sense? No, right? One guy wanted his people to destroy his country, his kingdom. Why he's doing that? Okay, the background was for the Cultural Revolution is because when Mao was getting really, really old, 76, he's losing the health and in some ways the power. So he thought that if I'm losing the power to control the whole China, I'm not giving my power to anyone else. I'm going to drag this whole country down together with me. If you want to see me destroyed, you will be destroyed as well. So that's how the Cultural Revolution started. So the historians making some conclusions and research on why Mao was doing that. And the conclusion was because he is a ironic anarchist. Okay, he is against any systematic governing or system. Okay, he does not want any government to be existing. He's an anarchist. He hates that. He hates system. He just wants chaos. He just wants people hate other people. He just wants people to see how they are hurt. So that's how Mao is running this country. So when he sliding down with his power, he said, now let the chaos begin. Starting the Cultural Revolution. From 1966, he told all the young people he was not borrowing the power from any intellectuals, from well-educated people, from middle class. No, because he knew that for those people who are educated, who went to college, who get make the good living of themselves, who are in a privileged or prestigious social status, will not come out and stand out to destroy their own lives. So he borrowed the power from those who are not educated, from those who are not experienced anything. those are called 童子军, the youngsters who are younger than 16 years old. He said all the young people, children, youngsters, youth, should come out and go against with your parents, with this family. So no family should exist in this country. Just go beat your parents, go beat your teacher, and hate with each other. Then this is how it started. For that time, no people, no youngsters staying at their home. They take a train to different places and get the teachers out and other parents and beat them to death. So that's how Cultural Revolution started for 10 years. And you may see from there, those people who bent their waists standing on the stage are those called the conservatives. The conservatives are regarded as those who are going against with the revolution. If you want peace, then you are standing over there. If you see system, order, you're standing on the stage. If you see righteousness, you're standing on the stage. But if you see hatred, if you see rebellion, if you see social revolution, then you're safe, you're secure. You're standing off the stage. You have the right to survive, and you have the right to throw the stones to whoever is standing on the stage. During that time, think about Christianity. How many churches survived over there? Okay. In 10 years, from 1966 to 1976, 1% of the whole church body remained in China. 99% died off. Before 1969, there were 2 million Christians living in China. After the Cultural Revolution, there are only about 20,000 to 30,000 in rural area. Okay. Why there are still people who survived in that kind of horrible, tragical movement, in that kind of situation? It was only because in some rural areas, the whole village were converted at the same time. So there is no even one Communist Party member in that whole village. So that whole village will survive in this whole movement. And also some minorities. Their residence place was pretty much very isolated, some kind of in the mountain or in the hilly area, then they survive as well. So at that time, after 1976, there were only no more than 30,000 Christians left. There was a great saying after that. You guys probably know John Darby. When John Darby's what's it called, the Brethren Church movement moved from Britain and all the way to China, it was accepted and adopted by a local spiritual leader. His name is very big. Okay, you probably know him, Watchman Nee. Okay, Watchman Nee was the person who took the root from Brethren church system and adopted it for Chinese movement. And he survived the Cultural Revolution. And he gave a saying about the whole revolution. He said, "Praise the Lord, we have a great leap. We have a great growth after the Cultural Revolution. Our true believers increased from 2 million to 20,000. Guys, get it? Probably very lost, right? What do you say? Why this Watchman Nee said we had a growth from 2 million to 20,000? Was he wrong about that? Was he really so bad at mathematics Aren't you Asian Chinese people so good at mathematics? Consider B as a fail? No. Okay, this spiritual leader actually made a very good point. Okay, it's not only because he's a spiritual leader that nobody can stand out and say you made a bad mistake. No, he's right. What he truly meant was, in 1966, even you have official number about Christians as 2 million, not each one of them is real. Okay, when Jesus walking on the wilderness, when people are following him, just crossing Jordan River, and people are following him because he just made a miracle and giving every person something to eat. So people are following him. They say, "Okay, I want to follow you because you are our Lord." What did Jesus say? Returning back towards them, and he said, "No, I'm so sorry. You made a mistake. I'm not your Lord, because I know the only image in your heart concerning about a Lord is giving you something good. But no, I'm not your Lord because you are following the wrong person. I do not have the payload. You wanted to follow someone who is rich, affluent, impactful, and resourceful. I'm not that type of Lord you are following." Exactly the same. Back to the 1960s in China, people are following Christ for a wrong reason. I'm not saying that it was so unique or rare. It was the same, exactly the same in the modern America now, even on this campus. Not every person following Jesus for a good reason, for a right reason. Watchman Nee set it out, and that made him the real spiritual leader. And he said, we have an increase from 2 million to 20,000. We don't know how many fake people are there. But for this 20,000 in 1976, could you stand up and doubt any one of them with their faith? No. They risked their lives. Look at that. What you gotta do, what's gonna happen to you if you stand out and share your faith at that environment? You will not survive a night. You'll be done. You'll be killed even faster than your Lord. That's the reality. So, as he said, praise the Lord for what Cultural Revolution has revealed. Even for Cultural Revolution, even for Mao, he was unable to diminish, to destroy Christianity, because the whole world belongs to God, not him. Even if he wants to destroy everything, he wants to take the root out, he was unable. You should have the faith. Nothing could happen to the kingdom without the permission of God. Next one. So this is 20 years later. This is 1989. Have you guys learned that from Chinese history? From the textbook? 1989. June the 4th, Tiananmen Square massacre. 3,000 Chinese students came to the Tiananmen Square, protested, asking for a righteous movement towards the corruption and a political reformation. But the Chinese government hesitated about 5 weeks, starting from the 3rd week of April and all the way to June the 4th. Then they decided to take the tanks, army, get into the Tiananmen Square and killed all the 3,000 Chinese students. Nobody, for now, so far, has an accurate number of how many students are killed. It was still an estimation of 3,000 Chinese students were killed in Tiananmen Square massacre. It was the picture taken about 2 weeks before the massacre happened. Why I put this picture here was because it seems to be a tragedy. It seems that another attempt for a political reformation failed in China. But think about how God revealed himself in history. He's not revealing himself. He's not giving a plan for any person from China for just once. He is doing that in the bigger picture, in the long plan. Starting from this movement in 1989, June the 4th, all the way to 6 years later, many people are converted across the ocean in the United States. 6 major leading leaders in the Tiananmen Square for the students. They ran away, they fled to the States. And 4 of them accepted Jesus Christ as their personal savior in 1995, 6 years later. And all these 4 leaders become the most renowned, most famous, most impactful leaders now in Chinese churches in 2018. I'm talking about history now. I feel like history is so close to me. Cannot make any more real when I see the leaders. And I'm studying the theology and biblical counseling together with a wife of the leader at Dallas Theological Seminary. We're even classmates. She married one of the leaders, and that leader visited Dallas and gave him a sermon 2 weeks ago. The real, talking about history becomes real. And how God had borrowed a tragedy to make it as a blessing to those people. When we're talking about the future and hope of China, so many people are begging, so many people are talking about the political reformation all the time. Hundreds of years ago, almost 1,000 years, what people have in their mind was how we can cultivate our own righteousness, emperor or chairman or even a president. But every time when they think about this way, they failed because they thought all the problems coming out from the political system, but they were wrong. It was never the answer how China could gain hope from this world. The corruption to the world was never politically, but spiritually. So the only hope, the only way out for China was never political resolution, but a spiritual way out. And God gave the answer through a political movement. How amazing was that? You want a mistake? I'm not correcting you, but I want you to make that mistake. And let's finally one day you will realize why you are making that mistake, so you can come back to the righteous way as I have planned for you, because you wanted it. For those who ever wanted a way, wanted to know, want to hear, you will hear. You will find out the way. You knock, I'll open the door for you. God was always faithful at any time. So this was the testimony for a generation of people. It was a consensus that was signed by all the political leaders right away from China in 1989, who was as well converted as Christian leaders in the States in 2005 in San Francisco. All right, back to mainland China. What is China doing now? To learn about spirituality back in China now, you have to understand 2 words. The first, Three Self Church. Second, Underground Church. There are 2 separate, respective church model in China. The Three Self Church is official church run by Chinese government. If you are going to a Three Self Church, if you want to be a pastor of Three Self Church, you have to harbor all the ideology of Marxism, which is total contradiction of the whole philosophy and theology. Could you even believe a person who calls himself a Christian but not believe the second returning of Christ? Could you believe someone call him a Christian but deny every person is a sinner? But that is happening in the Three Self Church. You have to be a Three Self Church pastor if you say that the redemption is over and no such a thing as a returning of Christ. It's ridiculous. At the same time, there's another type of church in China, which is called the underground church. Underground church is house church. is local church. It's not led by the government. It's not official. It's autonomous. It's usually people are meeting at someone's home. So that's the reason why we call that a house church, a home church. In that kind of environment, you can preach whatever you do. Feels like good freedom, a good phenomenon there. But the risk is for those people who are serving at house church, at home church, they are not ideally educated. They are not doctrinally educated. They have never been to a seminary, and they are not theologically trustworthy. So that's a risk. And persecution. Talking about caging a person. So what do we do? Every time we're talking about the missions and the churches in China, you have to specify which city you are talking about. Because in China, churches are so different. And I have more pictures here. We're just going to glimpse and doing it really fast. Okay. This is the house church. This is the Three Staff Church in the rural area. Okay. Even though it's official, but because it's in rural area, the condition is not that good. It's not that promising. So people don't have cars. They go to church. They ride a bike. So they don't have any problem for parking. And I'm taking a picture with the pastors there. Who's the pastor? Can you guess?
Or left?
For left? No. For left so it's me, right? No. For right? No. For right was the person who was doing the cleaning job. The pastor was the lady in the middle with the white collar. Okay. So in China, most churches, the leaders, the pastors are female. It was only because the most members are female. The guys are not willing to go to church. Okay, that's the situation over there. The preachers, the deacons, the elders, the pastors, majority, 70%, 80% are female. If you think that would be the Three Staff Church, you'll probably be wrong. Think about the Three Staff Church in the metropolis area, in the major cities. This is in Hangzhou. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that pretty? They even have the English version. They have English sermon and preaching sessions. Is that good? I'm telling you, this is China. Right? Think about communism and Christianity. Always remember the thing I shared with you guys. When talking about church or spirituality in China, you have to specify the city. You have to specify the province. Things will vary so differently. And there's another one, the worship team, how they come together. And for those who are on the stage are those said their conversions prayer who just got converted. 300 of them, just in one gospel read. Those are all the people who are minority and never went to school, but they're godly, gifted, beautiful sound. Their vocals, they're great. And American church, there is American church in China. Okay, think about that. Okay, they're usually beside a American embassy or a foreign embassy, and you have to hold a passport, foreign passport, to get into this kind of church. And there was only English Bible in the American church. I was kind of young, right? It's 10 years ago. And it was how it looked like. Because they have an interpreter. These are the seminaries in China. They're dorm seminaries in China are nothing like Golden Colville, Westminster, Southwestern Baptist, nothing like that. When you're talking about seminaries in China, you're talking about a small dorm which can hold only 5 or 6 Chinese students. This is a whole school. You're seeing a full school of a seminary. And this is a beauty salon. It's called a Canon Beauty Salon. So So we know, wow, this is right by the sisters. And for the graduation time, the students are sending their books, and I'm going to enlarge the picture so you can read. There is a Bible among them. So people read the Bible. I don't know why he's setting that, but maybe he says he's got the second copy. And people share about their faith and Christianity on QQ groups or WeChat. And Chinese calligraphy on the Bible verses. And Santa Claus with Christ, Christmas. This is another picture of the house church. People come literally in the house, in the family, and they worship together. What it looks like. This kind of size of the house can hold like 20 to 30 people. So when they come and worship during the winter time, they take off their coat. Okay, one person cannot take off his coat in house church. Why was that? Because this big house will hold like 30 people. So when he's trying to take off the coat, he has to wait until the worship time, and he stood up. So other people will think, oh, you want to share? No, I just want to take off my coat because I can stretch now. Bad joke. But it was real. Okay, it happens all the time. Hymns, the local hospital fellowship, and the church building. About the future, what's going to happen in China for Christianity in the future? The person on the right, you guys probably know. From on the left, who's he? His name is Xi Jinping. Okay, he's the current chairman, also president, as you say, of China. And his attitude towards Christianity just as bad as Mao, as any other Chinese governor or leader, tyrant ever in Chinese history. Because please remember the saying I shared with you guys. There was a scar in people's mind, okay, on the authority's mind, on the memory, because of having kingdom. Christianity, church, fellowship, it's always powerful and dangerous, hard to control. This is what they do 2 months ago. They burned out the cross on a church in Henan province. So new movement is coming out as this coming to the power of Xi, and he is doing all kinds of negative things as much to the church. You may see this video. So, and I don't think we'll have enough time, but you may see some ridiculous pictures as Catholic Church, cardinals, and Christian pastors, and Tao worshippers, and the Buddhists, they all come together to worship the party. What they're doing there, they're just singing a hymn to worship the party member. And all right, finally, we're coming to the tips of evangelism. When you reach out to the Chinese students, what they gotta do? Some tips. First, know them first. Build up personal relationship. If you don't know them, there's no way for you to evangelize. The second, first 5 minutes is crucial for your evangelism. You probably will know how much possible, how much hope you could evangelize a person within the first 5 minutes. If he is asking you any question, very, very good positive sign that he has hope. But if he's not asking questions, that's normal. But if he turns back and talking about something else and want to leave, then you just let him leave. Okay. First 5 minutes is pretty much decisive. Being a foreigner, okay, I know, okay, 100 times I'm telling myself and other Chinese students, we are the foreigners, so come on. What language are you speaking now? English. Yes, we are the foreigners. We are living in the States, okay? We are the foreigners. We Chinese are the foreigners. But if you're reaching out to, sorry. If you guys are like reaching out to the people, they probably will they will regard themselves as Chinese people, but you guys as foreigner. So getting prepared for that. So, I'm not foreign. You're coming to my country, okay? But he will regard himself as an national. I think the background is. Sorry. And the next tape, no, they do not know Jesus. Okay, you guys were born here, raised up here. You probably had supposition that, probably you have never heard about gospel, but you should know Jesus, right? You know there's God, right? Do not have any supposition. Do not have anything stereotyped in your mind. Just treat him as a 5-year-old kid who has never heard anything. Probably 5-year-old kid knows more than a Chinese person. Okay, seriously. But he's never been to a church, he knew nothing about Christianity. He knew nothing about God. He knew nothing about Bible. He knew nothing about church or Christ or Jesus. Just treat him as a person with zero knowledge. Okay, last one. Relationship. Gospel will never grow in a person's heart unless you have the relationship with him. It was not a 10 minutes or an hour thing. It was a personal evangelism thing. Okay. Thank you so much. Do we have time for Q&A? But it's already...
Yeah, we can take a few minutes.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions? I'm glad to answer. Yes, please.
When trying to get to know, because it is really important to build relationships so that you can have a good gospel conversation later, what are some things that Chinese people would like to do in building a relationship with us so that we can be or what kind of things do they like to do so that we can get to know them and be a better friend?
Great. So practical. Okay, the first, food. Okay, trying to be so proud of yourself, even if you do not seem to be that confident in front of a Chinese person talking about food, owning it. Okay, present yourself like food. Invite them to somewhere and asking them if you enjoy that. You probably hear a lie that I truly enjoyed this so good, but later then he will just invite you in return that to a Chinese restaurant and you probably experience some Chinese natural flavor food, and that's the start from the relationship. And then talking about your own life, what you like, pop music, hip hop, street dance, sports, anything. Talking about your own family, what your parents do, draw it close. Talking about romantic relationship. The key to strive for conversation, make it you feel that you guys are companion. So food, hobby, and family background, and then to the deeper topic. Any questions? Yes, please.
Is there anything that a Chinese person might be offended by?
Yes. No Taiwan. Okay, do not talk about politics of Taiwan. Does Taiwan mean island or part of China or no Tibet? Tibet is isolated or no, nothing. But other than that, you can talk more everything in the media or public, trade war, the Olympic Games or things like that. It's fine. But you probably can tell their attitudes. I think it would be really wise to start with a conversation like, I don't know where your line is. I really want to respect you, but please let me know if you feel really offended. Can we talk about how much politics you want to talk about? That'd be really wise. They know, because we are educated as Chinese people that to treat other people just the way they treat us. So if you are showing your respect and kindness to them, they will do that back to you. They will be offended. Great question. Maybe the last one?
is there any like logical paths to explain the gospel that resonates better in their mind?
Great one. This is not practical, but this is very academic, okay, oriented. Yes, Chinese people understanding the gospel in such a different way as Westerners. Okay, Westerners, the stereotype of accepting a reality or truth is true or false. Is it true? Then I accept it. Then if I do not believe it is true, then prove to me. Okay. But Eastern culture, especially Chinese people, do not conceive a fact or reality in the way of debating whether it's true or not. People still accepting or welcoming a false thing. Okay, please stay with me. Chinese people even accept a false thing if that saves their face, if that brings honor to him. So Chinese society, Chinese people, Chinese culture is honor and shame based. It's not truth and false based. Okay? So anything related with Chinese people, think about shame or honor. Okay? If that's going to bring honor to you, then they will love it. If that's going to bring shame to you, then they will hate it. So that's the reason why most missionaries come over to China and bring the gospel to them and said they won't like it. Why? Because they believe it is so shameful for Jesus to be hanged, crucified on the cross. And Chinese, the missionary said, exactly, that's the word the Bible uses, shameful. You know, like it was a shameful ending for how the Son of God was crucified over there. But you get the point. But you know what? I want to, without hearing the second most important part of his conversation, the Chinese person turned away and left. Because, he just got the shameful part and he left. Does not want to accept that. So probably you start from the honoring part. You know what? The reason why gospel is so important to you, because gospel, Christianity, is the thing that brings honor to America. You want to experience that same honor. You want to be part of this honorable system. You want to be on, like, how a prestigious middle class intellectual adults think the way as Americans, as Westerners think. You have to understand how this honors to you. Oh, really? Oh, why was that? Because before we learn honor, we learn something else, like sacrifice, shame, redemption, grace, for those which is really unfamiliar concepts for Chinese person. Thank you so much. All right, really, I enjoyed it. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Joseph. All right, so we're going to meet here and circle up in about 3 minutes. So, and we've got 2 by 2 on campus.